So Jeff, tell me, how did you get involved in the film industry originally?
Boy, that's a long story. I wanted to do what I'm doing really since I was 10 years old. And when I was 16, I became an usher at a movie theater, and then an assistant manager and a manager. And my idol growing up was John Cassavetes. And when I went to college, I became the film critic and cultural arts editor of my college paper. And I was a decent film critic and a terrible interviewer. But I had an opportunity to see one of his new films in 1971. And he was there, and I was starstruck, and I was determined to interview him. And after a few weeks of attempts, I actually set up an interview. And at the end of the interview, it went on for 2.5 hours, and it was exquisite. And at the end of the interview, he asked if I'd written a review of his new film, and I said I hadn't yet. He said, send it to me if you get a chance. So I did, and unbeknownst to me, he took a quote from that review and put it in the ad in the New York Times with my name and my attribution. And I called him to thank him, and he said, oh, I liked your review. Why don't you take my office address in California? We can stay in touch. Nobody does that. I didn't know. I was 19 years old. And but I stayed in touch with him by correspondence for about a year and a half. And after that, I kind of let it go because I was managing movie theaters and enjoying it. I've loved every facet of the film business. And in 1974, he had made a film called A Woman Under the Influence, and it was selected for the New York Film Festival, which is where I'm from, New York. And I bought a ticket and endeavored to find out where he'd be when he was coming to New York for the festival. Tracked him down and said, I don't know if you remember me, it's Jeff Lipsky. And he said, oh, Jeff, absolutely. He said, what are you doing? I said, managing movie theaters. And he thought that must mean I know everything about film distribution. I didn't realize that he didn't have a distributor for his film. He and Peter Falk, the star of the film, had co-financed the movie. And he hated Hollywood. Hollywood hated him. And he had made arrangements to open it in New York after the film festival, but really didn't know what he wanted to do beyond that. But he called me over, wanted to, sponge whatever information or knowledge I had, which was nothing. And the movie played the festival. It was a masterpiece. It opened in New York that week and broke out an all-time house record. And there were about 12 acolytes along with me who were surrounding him. And he said, you know what, screw it, we're going to do it ourselves. And anything that they tell us is the way to do it, we're going to do it the opposite way. And in 1974, at an average admission price across the country of about $1.75, average ticket price, the film grossed $16 million and won 2 Academy Award nominations for Best Actress for his wife Jenna Rollins and Best Director. And that is what really gave rise to this cottage industry that we call independent distribution. And I got caught up in it. I really didn't want to be a distributor. I wanted to make films. And I thought if I kind of sidled along with my idol, it would help accelerate the process. I didn't realize it was going to take another 20 years. And along the way, I've distributed 225 films. I started a company called October Films, another company called Lot 47 Films, and I've been blessed to have represented as a distributor some of the best films and greatest filmmakers in history. And then I had the opportunity in 1994-95 to write and direct my first feature film, and I just finished my 4th film. And my 2nd and 3rd films were selected for world premieres at the Sundance Film Festival. And it's been an amazing ride, a great opportunity. I think of all the tens of thousands of people who would love to make films, and I've had the opportunity to make 4 of them, and I never take that for granted. And now here we are in Dallas, Texas.
So now tell me, when you decided to, step away from your distributor role, and what was it that finally made you say, you know what, I'm going to make my first movie? What was that whole experience like for you?
Well, the experience was everything I could have ever hoped it to be and expected it to be, and more. But what made the decision was made for 2 reasons. One, over the years I'd written a few screenplays and always liked them and thought they were good, but never good enough to make a film. And at a certain point, I came up with a script that I thought could be a really impressive work. And I had saved up enough of my own money to self-finance the movie and not have to wait for years or go through the money-raising process. All I had to do was push my own button to unleash the funds, and I did it. And so that was the decision. It was an extraordinary experience from the first day of shooting. My cast was amazing. My lead actor is now a huge star. He's one of the stars of HBO's True Blood. And the lead actress of that film, I actually want to bring back. She had gone on hiatus herself after a few years to become a mom and a wife, and she's ready to get back into the fold, and I'm hoping that she's in my 5th movie. So the first day, there was no nervousness involved. It was a certain instinctual process. And then film distribution was my film school. To work for and with people like John Cassavetes and Rainer Werner Fassbinder and Jean-Luc Godard and Lasse Hallström and Jim Jarmusch and Alex Cox, whose films I was able to distribute, most of their first films. So it was a real uncanny learning process because I got to see what they went through, many of them, in the process, during the process of making their films and just having their films distributed.
And now, for anyone wanting to take that step and go out there, what do you think is the biggest challenge to young filmmakers, first-time filmmakers, and what should they keep in mind when they're trying to find their path in this business?
Well, the simple answer is don't. And it's the most expensive art form ever created by mankind. And, I understand that film is a business because I've been successful in the business of film. As a businessman, I have not been as successful commercially as a filmmaker. Artistically, I've realized all of my wildest dreams. But as an artist, I do not write films, I do not direct films in order for them to make money. I would love millions of people to see them, but ultimately I make movies for me and for a young woman in Germany. And if that's all that happens, that's all that happens.
A young woman in Germany.
No, it's actually a great story. My first film was called Childhood's End, and it's available to rent now. And it was made in '95, and it came out in '97. It received mostly good reviews and was selected by a handful of film festivals. But it was clear after it had opened that it wasn't going to make its money back. I wasn't going to make my money back, which was fine. Again, I was completely satisfied by the effort. And I was approached by the Hamburg Film Festival, which, despite all my years in film, I had never heard of. And they said, we saw your movie and we liked it, and we would like it to have it on our film festival, and we'll fly you to Germany and we'll assign a translator to you, and you don't have to subtitle it or dub it into German. And I thought about it. I said, well, gee, the Beatles did well in Hamburg. I'll go to Hamburg with my movie. And I flew over, and they did assign a translator, but I didn't need one because everybody in Hamburg, Germany, speaks English. And the festival was in a mall multiplex, like so many festivals. And the film was about young people, so the theater was about half full, and it was mostly young Germans. And I was introduced to the crowd in German, and I introduced the film to them in English. And I sat in the back of the theater, and they responded really well, just the same way that American audiences responded, and the way I'd want them to respond. And after the movie, there was a Q&A, and it was all in English, and everybody stayed for the Q&A, and it was very gratifying. And the festival said, we have to start another movie, you'll have to retire to the lobby of the theater. And I was chatting with the festival director, and after a few moments, a young, shy German woman walked up to us, and she said to me, excuse me, I just wanted to tell you that yesterday in the film festival, I saw what was then the new David Cronenberg movie, Crash. And it made me so angry I never wanted to see movies again. And now that I've seen your movie, I want to see movies again. And if she had been the only human being on the face of the planet who had ever seen my movie, it would have been worth every dime that it cost me to make that movie. And how many people through artistic expression can affect the life of a total stranger halfway around the world? And it's happened to me not just that one time, but many times since then. So that's why I make movies for me, and that's why I make movies for that woman in Germany. So the answer to your question is really don't listen to anybody who tries to convince you have to worry about marketing and how you're going to get your film into theaters or how you're going to get... That's the job of your producer. If you're a writer-director, you shouldn't worry about it. You should just do it. And then don't languish if, in fact, it is received well, worrying about the commercial failures or fortunes of your film. Just go right ahead to make another film. because eventually you're going to die and you don't want to have no body of work to leave behind.